A timer on here, which I just want her to remind you when we get to 10 minutes and we'll stop.
Right.
All right. So then I'll upload these guys to YouTube. You guys need to review it, you can. Okay, so hopefully you need the computer screens off and just a pencil. You guys read the Maker book.
Yes.
Didn't finish it.
Hoping you finished it. It will really help you today. If you did, if you didn't, I'm going to know it soon. So you need to go back and do it. It's really, the Maker book is an important part of this. Did we get one? Okay. So the way I'm going to do this is I am going to work from, oh, hold on, let me pull it up really fast. I am going to actually work from this PowerPoint. So I need you to have a pencil out and just the PowerPoint in front of you because I want to model for you while I'm doing this how you can use PowerPoint to check for assessment. Whenever we're working with assessment, we're working with a new subject and we have to lecture, and occasionally we do. I don't like to do it a lot, but you do have to do it occasionally. One of the important things to realize is that you've got to stop every so often and check for understanding. So I will be modeling that for you today. I'll be checking you for understanding. Okay. So, all right, Gail, so it's got to be towards me.
Got it.
Got it. Perfect. Great. Okay. So let's get started talking about objectives. This is what Maker says about objectives. Objectives describe what students are expected to be able to do. And this is the part I really liked about the book. I hope you enjoyed it too. He didn't use a lot of really big words, did he? And he didn't use a lot of what?
Just one or two.
Just one or two. He didn't use a lot of examples from education. He tried to use examples from real walks of life to get you kind of out of the educational mode, all right? Mm-hmm. To encourage you to kind of think about this in a different way. So I really liked that. Let me tell you real quickly, when I was a beginning teacher, I really struggled with objectives. I remember the very first time I was observed, my principal told me I did a great job afterwards. He called me down for the debrief, sat me down, and he said, Amber, you did an awesome job. He looks over my lesson plan and he just has one box circled. That's the objective box. He said, the only thing is you didn't really nail objectives. You don't really have a deep understanding of that. I want you to really work on this, and here's what you need to do. So he gives me, for 30 minutes, he tells me how to write an objective. And I'm listening, and I'm smiling, I'm nodding, I'm writing furiously. And I go back to my classroom, and I think I have no idea what he said.
Pretty much you were crying on the inside.
But I was trying. I was going to try. So the next time I got observed, you know, I went back to that. I thought about all the things that he said. I tried to really write objectives in a clear way. And he calls me back down to his office, and he says, you know what, Amber? You did a great job. And he circles that box again. And he doesn't say to me, you know, I remember last time, but he launches into the exact same speech. And I realized at that moment, he says this every time he evaluates a teacher, or almost every time, you know, that this is just something that teachers really tend to do the wrong way. It's hard for him to really explain what he needs me to do. It's hard for me to understand what I need to do. So maybe objectives are just one of those things that just aren't very clear to people in general. And honestly, it wasn't until I came to Baker and I started teaching this class 7 years ago and I read Maker's book that I had my own aha. I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. And I realized that Maker really embodied what I believed about teaching, that teaching needs to be active. It can't be something that you just imagine. It has to be active. So as we go through this, I want you to really latch onto that active word, because Maker talks a lot about that action, okay? Mm-hmm. And really think about how that could transform your teaching. Okay, Maker says basically an objective is different from a course description, and here's an example. Review the many instructional media resources that are available to classroom teachers. So do you see how this is different? This is what a learner is supposed to be able to do, and it's different from this one, which is review the many resources. So, it's your turn. On your PowerPoint, read both sentences. Circle the statement that you think is an objective. Don't say it aloud. Just read them to yourself. And I want you to circle the statement that you think is the correct one for the objective. Okay, did you pick? so here we go. Ready? Oh, I didn't do it. All right, which one is it?
Top.
Which one is it? It is the bottom. That is correct. So if you circled that one, you were correct. It is design a curriculum which will meet most of the instructional needs represented in the classroom. Why? Somebody tell me why they chose that one. Why'd you choose that one?
Because designing, you're actively doing something.
You're actively doing something. That's correct. Now, even that idea of actively doing something, I think, is not totally clear yet until Mager adds this piece. Mager says there's 3 parts to an objective. He says there's the performance, which we're really, really going to focus on. He says there's the condition, and then there's the criteria. Sorry about your PowerPoint. I know it's a little discombobulated. And lastly, he said there's criteria or assessment. We'll spend a little time on each of these, but really we're going to focus on the performance because this is where I had the aha. This is where that really kicked in for me, and hopefully you did as you read. It says it describes what the learner is expected to be able to do, and it is visual. It has to be visual. Okay, Venus, come here for a sec. Here's Venus. Okay, now I want you to think about what teachers do a lot. Oh, is it okay if you're on the videotape?
Sure.
Okay, she said sure. All right. So here's what teachers do a lot. We, as teachers, we say, all right, Venus, welcome to 9th grade government. Today I'm going to teach you about the amendments to the Constitution. Okay? So, are you watching me, Venus?
Yes.
Are you focusing on me writing all these amendments?
Sure.
Okay? And I'm giving you examples. Look at all these examples I'm giving you of the amendments. Look at all the resources I have for the amendments. And Venus is just watching me, right? Okay? And then I say, okay, Venus, learn!
What am I supposed to learn?
Learn, Venus!
What are my objectives?
But usually you wouldn't talk back to
I
me.
know.
But we do
Because I'm
this
one
a
of your
lot, right?
students.
So how do I know that Venus has learned?
You have to
Just
demonstrate it.
But you need to see her do something that shows the learning.
Because I don't have superpowers. I can't look into Venus's brain and see in the government portion, oh my gosh, I filled it up. Good job. It doesn't work like that, does it?
No.
We don't know. So, you know, Venus could have looked at me, and some of you are very good at faking learning. You smile, you go, you write it down, you hide your cell phone and you text. You're good at faking it, okay? But the truth is, you may not have learned anything. Maybe you're tired or you're angry or you're hungry or in your head you're saying, you know, my husband is such a jerk. Maybe you're just going over that. And you're not at all focusing, or in 6th grade, look at how cute that boy is over there. You know, 9th grade, right? Okay, so Venus might have been passing love notes. We don't know. She could have not been doing anything. But what Venus has to do is she has to be able to show me her learning. So how could Venus show me that she knew, that she learned from my whole teaching about the amendments? How could she show me?
Somebody give me an example of, an example of First Amendment rights.
Correct.
Give me a situation where you would use this or whatever.
Absolutely. So I could ask Venus to give me an example. All right, thank you, Venus. You can sit down. Okay, now sometimes we wouldn't have all 30 students in our class give us an example. So we might, by orally giving it to us, right, which we could visually see, but we might actually have them do something like I'm doing with you guys where you circle, right? Or you write it down because that would be easier for us to grade or to assess. But ideally, wouldn't it be great if I could actually have her demonstrate for me the amendments? Maybe I have a digital camera, and maybe I ask her to act out the amendments to the Constitution in a small group, which I've actually done before. Take pictures of it, and then I print those pictures out, and when we're reviewing for the amendment test, Venus actually looks at all those pictures of herself acting out the amendments, and she gets it. Okay.
I have a question, quick question.
What?
Now, something like that in terms of First Amendment or whatever, now, would this be a good time to, let's say, show a YouTube video of somebody, of a group or something, let's say the people at the Capitol, state Capitol.
Absolutely,
and
but
they're
okay,
doing
here's
First Amendment.
the important thing to remember. Now, thinking about teaching, okay? I want you to understand this very deeply. If you don't have an objective in your lesson, it's telling, not teaching. Teaching is 2 parts. Teaching is the demonstration part that is typically teacher-directed or learner-centered, but it's also the second piece, and this is what Mager is saying to us, it's the assessment piece where we have to see what they're doing. So if you show, Gil, if you show that YouTube, okay, but you never ask Venus to do anything with it, how do you know if she's learned from it? It can be super cool, but if you don't get something back from her showing that she's had some understanding or some new learning from that, you don't know if she's really learned.
Well, I guess then you ask a follow-up question. Can you think of a time when?
Correct. So it's got to be. So I want you guys to write that down on your PowerPoint. Teaching, okay. Teaching is 2 parts. Without objectives, it's just telling, not teaching. Look at this right up here, too, once you finish writing. What does Mager say to us? He's basically telling us, if your objective, if your statement doesn't have a visual performance, it doesn't count. It's not an objective. So what he's really saying, although he doesn't come out and use these words, what he's basically saying is that's not teaching. That's telling. It's not teaching.
Okay, you said that it was telling. All right.
It's telling. It's not teaching. Now think about how many classes you're in where there's a lot of telling. Okay, you can pause it now.